Today, in this video, I'm going to be talking about emotions. Now, this video is a sort of a video reply to my friend FedEx MeYourDrugs, his YouTube channel. A while back he had made a video and it was entitled "Hate Has a Home Here," and I would implore you to go check this video out for yourself. I agree with everything he said in this particular video, and he brings up some very interesting points, and I've always agreed with his train of thought, and I would encourage you to go check out that video. There's not a whole lot that I can add to his video, but there's a little bit. Now, I've always thought this picture that I'm drawing here is a graph. I'll show it to you in a second. It's a graph. Back when I was younger, I really enjoyed mathematics, algebra, geometry. But this graph that I'm about to show you, I came up with this idea back when I was in college, maybe when I was 19 years old. And I'll show it to you in a second. As I said, I highly suggest that you go watch his video. I just re-watched it again for like the third time just now. I would suggest honestly you quit watching my video, click the link in the box below and go watch his first, because honestly there isn't a whole lot that I can add to his excellent video. But there is a question that he asks at the end of it, and I'm going to try to answer that. But first, let me show you the picture I drew here. This is the picture that I drew earlier. It's entitled Love, Hate, and Apathy. And what I will show you is this. As he mentions in the video, and I agree with this completely, love, as you see, here's the graph, the y-axis, the x-axis. Love is a truly positive emotion. So it's over here in the positive quadrant. Hate is a negative emotion. But honestly, you may ask, why didn't I put it down here where apathy is? And I'll explain why. Hate is still a positive emotion. It's negative, but it's also positive. That's why I have it in this quadrant. Now, what I consider, in all honesty, sure, I know most people consider the opposite of love to be hate. But if you really think about it, isn't the opposite of love apathy, indifference? So see, I consider these emotions to be a sort of parabola. I don't necessarily consider the opposite of love to be hate, and vice versa. I honestly consider the opposite of love to be apathy, to be indifference. I want to ask you, how can you ever say you truly love something, that you truly love it, that if you aren't able to experience hatred for whatever may threaten what you love, for whatever may hurt what you love, for whatever may destroy what you love, how can you say you love something then? You know, I get called racist, anti-Semitic, all these other buzzwords. I've been called that many times online. And I mean, as I've said before, I'm well beyond caring, you know. I don't care in the least. Do I hate someone because of the color of their skin? Of course not. That is completely stupid. It is. I wasn't raised like that. But what I will hate are actions. Actions are what I hate. Sure, I hate actions of other races. But I'll tell you the truth. I hate many of the actions of my own race, head and shoulders above all others. So no, I'm not a white supremacist. Been called that one too. Now, you see in the media, the academia, all these programs, they want to take away our natural ability to hate something. Hatred, according to them, is something that is learned. It's not learned. It's a base human emotion. It's natural, and in some cases, I think it's healthy. Because honestly, as I said earlier, how can you say that you love something if you don't have a strong aversion and even hatred for that which might destroy it? How can you? I agree with everything that he said in that video. You know, in the news story at the beginning of the video where that poor 9-year-old black girl was raped and murdered. The news clip, it showed, you know, they were at the hearing. The judge upheld the pedophile, rapist, murderer's original sentence, thankfully. You know, you see the grandmother, you see that black girl's mother, her aunt. They're all in tears. The world's ruined, you know. I can't imagine such pain. The mother, her reaction is what I would consider the healthy, natural response. A true hatred for the sick fuck that raped and murdered her little girl. The father, on the other hand, did you see what he said? You know, I could see that perhaps he didn't mean what he said. I wouldn't have said such a thing about how he forgives his brother, who had just months earlier raped and murdered his 9-year-old daughter. How can you do that? How? How the fuck can you say such a thing? I don't like railing on Christianity much because I know many of you watching are Christian. You hear this black father mentioning that the rapist, the murderer who took away his little girl, telling him he needed to pray to God, needed to ask forgiveness. See, this is one of the biggest problems that I have with Christianity. It tells us things like to love our enemy and to forgive because we're all brothers in Christ. I despise that train of thought. Do you really? Say if this happened to you. Could you say such a thing to the person who did this, who took away your joy? How could you advise them to pray to your Savior, to ask for forgiveness, and to go to heaven? How could you? Would you really want to go to heaven and see the sick fuck that took away the light of your life? How could you call that heaven? I don't understand it. And I have no wish to entertain such thoughts. Now it could be said, as he had mentioned in the video, that most people would view this as not allowing the hatred to consume you. I don't think you should allow hatred to consume you, because it can. If an incident, a horrible incident would ever happen to me such as this, I'm willing to bet hatred would consume me. I would let it. Because if someone raped and murdered a lot of my life, I don't have any children yet, but if something like this ever happened, and I found out who did it, and I'm not saying this to be a hard ass or anything, and I pray such things would never ever happen. I pray it doesn't happen to anyone, because it's just sadistic, it's twisted, it's evil. But if something like this ever happened and I knew who had done it, wouldn't you, if it happened to you, wouldn't you want to kill the person who did this yourself? I would. I wouldn't want to wait on the state to do it. To allow this sick fuck to lounge around the last few worthless years of his life, taking taxpayer money. I wouldn't. I'd want to take care of it myself. I really would. Now I know before some retard that might stumble on this video will say, well, murder someone ain't gonna bring your little girl back. Well, I guess you're right. It won't bring her back. But perhaps it would prevent some other family from going through what mine went through. I mean, really, how can you fucking say you love anything in life if you don't have a strong hatred and aversion for anything that would harm it, that would threaten it, that would hurt it, or destroy it? How can you? You see so many of these, when I'm out at work, I've seen several of these stickers, these bumper stickers on the backs of retards' SUVs, things saying silly things like, we need more love and less hate. I'll be honest with you, the more you love something, the more you're going to hate what threatens it. You can't have one without the other, and according to this picture I drew, that's not the opposite. Apathy and indifference is the fucking opposite. Yet most people are too stupid to see this. Because honestly, as I said, hatred is a strong emotion, as is love. The complete opposite of that is a disconnection, an emotional detachment, apathy, indifference. And lastly, to answer the question that my friend asks, that he poses at the end of the video, the powers that be over us, they have all these campaigns against hate, to deplatform hate, to eradicate hatred. He asks this brilliant question. These powers that be that rule over us, the media, academics, those who rule, who truly rule, if they want to neuter your ability to feel hatred, what do you think that what they are trying to do? What do you think they're trying to do to your ability to love something that is truly beautiful and wonderful? My answer to his question is this, of course. The powers that be, they want us to become completely apathetic. Have you noticed over the last several decades, they are greatly diminishing our ability to experience life? How many little boys have you heard of over the years, over the decades, being prescribed shit like Ritalin and Adderall just because they're exuberant, just because they are masculine, just because they're healthy? You see people taking drugs like Prozac or Xanax or whatever all these other fucking benzos are. They want you to be dulled. They want you to be cattle. They want you to be sheep. They talk about taking away hatred. But in doing so, they're actually talking about taking away love as well. Because as I see it, there's no way to experience one without the other. Hopefully you won't ever have to experience true hatred. But hatred is a necessary emotion. These sick fucks, they want us apathetic. They want you apathetic while your kind is bred out of existence. They want you apathetic while your nation is overrun with third world migrants. They want you apathetic while you give your children hormone replacement therapy. Because after all, you ain't got the fucking sense to raise them right. You let them be confused by the degenerate fucking filth that's on the fucking television. You teach them to hate themselves. You let them to go to schools where they're taught to hate themselves, to hate their history, and to love everything that is twisted, sick, and harmful. You're taught to accept things that a normal person 50 years ago would be terribly repulsed by. So any of these fucking leftists, these hippies or whatever you want to call them, who think that love, we should love everything and accept everything, fuck you. Because how the fuck can you say you love something if you don't have hatred? You can't have one without the other. And that's what the elite's endgame is. They want a detached, pathetic, apathetic, indifferent populace that basically just goes to work, that eats the bugs, and that gets in the pod and don't ask the fucking questions. That's what they want. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.